Okay, it's late or early, depending on how you look at it. It's 1:33 a.m., but I'm awake, and there was a thing on Twitter that that's stupid that I have to respond to. I mean, stupid. Stupid might be too easy of a word. I mean, that might not be. I mean, idiotic, unintellectual, untrue, fractal error, outright lie. Hey, how's it going? Yeah. Disingenuous, a bad idea, bad theology, bad everything, just bad, just bad. So that's Jay Thompson. Okay, here we go again. I mean, I think that she's tweeting like downhill, like rapidly downhill, and she can't recover. There's no way. There's no hope. The only hope would be to stop tweeting, respond first of all to me, because I put a very long text response. Nothing. I've asked when she can talk with me again. Let's debate something. No responses. She's not actually really responding to very many people, and she's just getting everyone irritated at her more and more. So the latest nonsense is the urgent prayer request about this other person. And I talked about this last time I was complaining about S.J. Thompson's Twitter. But, it's just saying, come on, let's enough with the asking for prayers thing, and we just, like, if we're concerned about somebody, like, say, look, I'm concerned about them, make sure they get help, is there a way I can, like, send them a postcard or a card to cheer them up, or letter, or just tell them I care or something, is there a way that I can show them I care, that that you can share with them, all that, because it doesn't really do that much good. It might actually do bad to tell somebody that people are praying for them. It's like, oh, I didn't know I was that bad. But really, the person, if they're depressed or has any other mental issue, they need psychological help. Period. End of story. Then their prayers are not relevant. Don't bother. And people say, "Oh, go to a hospital when I get my arm broken, but I'll also pray." Yeah, well, one of those actually works, and the other one might maybe make you feel better, which is the prayer part, because it has a placebo effect. But that's temporary, and we know the hospital actually can do something for you. So I don't think the other part's necessary. But if you want to do it, okay, fine. If people, if the person that's depressed wants to pray, okay, yeah, whatever. Or if they want to have people around them pray or whatever, I guess. But if you really believe that praying will have an actual effect upon that person, that's bad theology, first of all. Not that Christians necessarily care about what their own holy book tells them, but it's like, well, what's prayer for? Well, the problem is you can make the Bible say anything, and prayer can be for anything you want. Jesus says, anything you ask for in my name will be done. Well, okay, dear Jesus, make all illness in the entire world vanish instantaneously right now. Okay, now I still feel kind of ill, so that didn't work. I'll tell you what, Jesus, you get like 2 minutes. It's 1:37 a.m. where I exist. Not that you needed to know that, Jesus. I'm being sincere. I really do want all people to no longer be ill. And, like, it could just be, like, for a day, like 24 hours. Like, make all illness disappear for the next 24 hours, starting now. I asked in your name, Jesus. Please do it. Nothing's happening. Okay? And we know that no amount of prayer using that specific prayer will ever do that. God isn't going to do that, even if it existed, due to all sorts of excuses and reasons that theology and theists will promote. Anyway, so yeah, this nonsense that I've linked in the thing here is this prayer request, and then somebody, responding to that, and then not Jehovah's Witness saying, prayer can help you, but it won't help their depression. So seek professional medical help. Yeah, that's good advice. I mean, it might make you feel somewhat good. I don't know. It's hard to say. It depends on the person. But yeah, that professional help is way more important than the prayer. Then S.J. Thompson says what made me irritated enough to make this. So just go ahead and share the screen here in case you didn't want to click on the link for whatever reason. I don't know. Share with her. Present to all. Whee! Okay, so here we go. So here we go. Depression is cured by Christianity. Depression is cured by Christianity. Okay, so no, it's not. Not at all. Are you okay? So how many different ways can I show that this is wrong? Let me count them. Okay, first of all, let's say okay, so this friend of this person who we don't have a name for, are they a Christian? I would guess that, this person, the prayer ministry guy, I would just assume that the person that you're thinking about is a Christian, right? Like, if they're a Christian, they can't possibly be depressed because Christianity cures depression. Therefore, the person that they're asking prayers for can't possibly be a Christian, because if they were, they wouldn't be depressed. So no Christian can ever be depressed ever, because it's cured by Christianity. So if you're depressed, you're not a Christian. If you become depressed, you have stopped being a Christian. If you are currently depressed and want to end being depressed, then just become a Christian. Now, then we'd have to ask questions like, well, what does it mean to become a Christian? Like, do I just say I'm a Christian? Do I have to pray to God? Do I have to pray to Jesus? Do I have to pray a certain prayer? Like, do I actually have to believe the words I'm saying on top of praying this certain prayer? Like, what does it mean to be a Christian? Or, well, what does it mean Christianity? Because you're saying that Christianity is curing it. What does that mean? Does it mean that people of Christianity are curing depression? Like if I go to a church, will that cure me of depression? What does it mean exactly to make this sort of idiotic, blatantly untrue statement that's wrong on every conceivable level that it could be wrong? Is S.J. Thompson telling us that she's never depressed at all, ever? Or depressed as in the mental issue of depression, rather than just depressed like you have a day where something is sad and you're a little bit depressed, but that wouldn't be the same thing. So I'm guessing that S.J. Thompson has never been or ever will be depressed as far as the mental issue of depression goes, because she's a Christian. And if ever she becomes depressed, then she's obviously not a Christian anymore, because Christianity cures depression, right? So let's just think about this. Let's see, what other ways could this be wrong other than being completely incoherent? So again, so would no Christian would ever need prayer? Like, is this true only of depression, or is it true of other things, like other mental illnesses or other illnesses in general? Because they obviously would be cured by Christianity, or should be cured. Maybe it's just this, So I'm wondering where in the Bible it says depression's cured by Jesus or Christianity. Does it say that in the Bible? Is this biblical? Perhaps you can back this up by Bible verses at the very least. I would think you would want to do that. Surely there's been some scientific study that's proven that this is true. Oh, well, this person says it is cured by Christianity. Well, then I guess she doesn't need prayer then. That's what I'm going to say. Christian and doesn't need prayer. Like, how does this work? How did I spell? How come I always spell Christian? What? Oh, okay, whatever. Yeah. So no, and no, and then yeah, this person. I don't know if he's a guy, girl, robot, whatever. You are 100% wrong. I was a Christian for many years when I was diagnosed. What's that? You want me to try to pronounce their name? Okay, Azenkindrick. Well, I think it might actually be the right way to say it. Anyway, so they were diagnosed with anxiety and depression. Hey, I'm right there with you. I got both of those, so I know what that is. They're both being managed with medication. Hey, me too. All right. And not me too, the hashtag. No. I'm an atheist because I realized my beliefs were rational and Bible is just mythology. Hey, yeah, pretty much for me, that's pretty similar to my thing. So, yeah, right with you. Keep it up. You're not being honest with yourself with God. Fuck you, SJ. Fuck you at this point. Just fuck you. You haven't responded to my post, and now you're just being a dick to people and telling them that they're liars when you can't possibly know that. You're intellectually dishonest, and you're not responding to people, and now you're saying things that are potentially very damaging because this is not true. This cannot be true. It's not true via theology. It's not true via medicine. It's not true at any level. And if you want me to retract the statement, fuck you, SJ, then this is what you're going to need to do. First, respond to the long thing that I wrote because you haven't done that. Secondly, remove this. Just remove it. Just get rid of it. Delete it. Or leave it up, but apologize for it. Just say you were wrong on every conceivable level about this and say, I issue a formal retraction of this statement. And there you go. And that's what you need to do. So, not that she'll watch this because, she doesn't watch anything that goes against her ideas anymore. And she's just going further downhill every time. So, yeah, that's all I've got for this. I guess I should end now, but it's just, it's, and then this. Wait, there's more. There's more. Right now I can't pronounce the name anymore. There's no evidence of God. To be honest with, show me some evidence that hasn't already been debunked to perhaps entertain theism again. I can't show you evidence when you're based your preassumptions on lies. Take care. What preassumptions does this person have? How do you know those preassumptions? How do you know anything? So, what evidence do you think that you have? I don't think that you would have empirical evidence of the God in question because it's not visible in that sense, or repeatable test. Although, according to you, depression is cured by Christianity, so we do have a repeatable test. That is that anyone that's depressed that becomes a Christian should automatically no longer be depressed. And since this person was a Christian, then was diagnosed, does that mean they were no longer a Christian in the moment they were diagnosed? Since their Christianity didn't cure it, it would have to mean that. I mean, so the cure is it only works. See, Christianity cures you of depression until you're depressed. Then what that means is that you're not a Christian until you become undepressed. Then you're a Christian again. That would be the only way that could ever possibly work. See, right? Because, that's not illogical at all. Let's see if anybody in chat has anything to say. Oh, hey, Not Joe Witness. That next line ticked everybody off. Thanks for the shout out, by the way. Yeah, Not Joe Witness gets a shout out, whatever. His avatar looks like Weird Al Yankovic. And until he admits that, I'm not going to subscribe to his channel. So, yeah. It's the weirdest thing I could come up with to say. I don't know. He wanted subscribers because he's not at a magical number, so I'm teasing him. But I do think that he looks like. Weird. So, pretty sure prayer has been tested scientifically for medical sex. Does nothing. That's correct. It does nothing. Actually, there was, funny enough, there was one study that did like heart patients, and they got worse after hearing that they were being prayed for. So I don't know what that means, but I guess they maybe they got worse because they thought, oh man, I must really be bad. So it's like what's called the nocebo effect. There's a placebo and the nocebo effect. So the nocebo effect is like if you're told that a drug is going to give you side effects, you'll believe that it will. And so maybe it was kind of like that, where they heard that they were being prayed for, and before they thought they were okay, but now it's like, oh man, I'm so bad, I have to be prayed for. So that made their condition worse. So let's see. Hi, everybody. Hi. The characteristic symptom of depression is word I have no idea what this word is. And which is an obstacle to spiritual experiences. It might be. I don't know. I don't know what that word is. I have to look it up. I should stop screen sharing. It doesn't make sense to screen share anymore. Let's do that. There we go. Okay. So, editor or whatever. LOL. I admitted it already. Haha. I'm surprised many people have said that looks like him too. Oh, okay. I didn't know that you admitted that you look like that. Your avatar looks like Weird Al. I don't know what you look like. I only know what your avatar looks like. And so if you have admitted it, then I have no more excuse, and I have to then, because I said that I would, I now have to subscribe to you. I don't know why I wasn't subscribed to you, to be honest. I thought I was, but apparently I'm not, according to YouTube. So I don't know how that happened, but so now that's been remedied, and you've got now more magical numbers. So that's a thing. So yeah, and then I was trying to talk to Johnny, but his friend came over, and so we're not going to talk about whatever we were going to talk about, but maybe we'll talk about that later. So yeah, I guess I'm done complaining about S.J. Thompson for now. I already talked about her Twitter last time and complained about her, but hey, look, I'm awake. You guys are awake. We're all awake. You know what? Let's just share this hangout with everybody in chat, and if anyone of you wants to complain about I figured you were holding out for the evidence. Yeah, that's right. That's why I wasn't subscribed, because I was holding out for the empirical evidence for you. That's stupid. Like, I'm not. I imagine somebody doing this to me one day. It's like, man, I'll subscribe to you when you admit, I don't know, fill in the blank. I don't know what I'd have to admit, but I'd be like, yeah, it's true, whatever. Let's complain about SJ. Whoever wants to join in, and if nobody joins in within the next 5 minutes, I guess I'll put a deadline on it, because I don't want to be here doing this too long. So if somebody wants to join in, and we'll complain about SJ a while, and then maybe we'll go off on some tangents or something. I don't know, whatever we want to do. We can do that. Let's see. Okay, let's see. She's not mentally ill. My friend is just like, how do you know she's not mentally ill? How do you know that? How do you know that? How in the world? What? Do you have mind reading abilities? Oh my word. No, you don't know that. Lost. So she's not a Christian. So, okay, so that's why she's depressed, that she's not a Christian. See, that's why she's lost. She needs love, help, and someone who will believe in her. No, she needs a doctor. I mean, that doctor might provide that too, but yeah, it's good to have help and love, and maybe somebody to believe in you, although I'm not sure how important that last bit is per se. But no, she also needs the mental help more than likely. And if she doesn't, well, then taking her to see a psychologist, psychiatrist, and or therapist wouldn't be wrong to do. It's like, oh, I think I might have a bad tooth. Maybe I should see a dentist. No. You just need love and support from your friends and family and Christianity. No, well, look, my tooth is hurting. I think that there might be something wrong with it. I think I'm going to go to a dentist. And if I go to the dentist and they're like, there's nothing wrong in there, I'm like, oh, well, okay. Well, then at least I know now. You know, maybe I get a second opinion because I'm like, well, you know, it's hurting. I don't know what's going on, you know. And then they go, oh, no, you know, it was actually, I looked in your mouth and there was this little sign in there that said you just needed love and support from your friends and family. I removed that sign, by the way, and now you're not in pain. Oh, well, thanks. How did that sign get in there? I don't know. That was weird, you know, but, anyways, depression is a mental illness. That's absolutely true. It is. So, you know, it's not, you know, mental illness, you know, I guess for a while was like, I don't know. I never really like saw that society was frowning on it, but I guess that's kind of a thing that people maybe felt like it was, like mental illness was like frowned upon or something. Nobody's getting in here. Nobody's joining in. Join me. Click on the thing. But yeah, so anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, the mental illness in and of itself isn't bad, or, well, it's bad that you have it, but it isn't like your fault or anything like that. Like, you didn't do anything to cause it, or, well, or whatever, you know. There's just the your brain is a complicated thing, and like sometimes things don't quite go the way they're supposed to, like certain things aren't firing, or there's a lack of chemicals or too many chemicals, or there might be like a physical thing that happened, you know, that's causing problems in your brain. There could be all sorts of things going on. It's a complicated thing that's going on. That's your brain. That's you are your brain. Well, you're a little bit more than that, because you're also your spinal cord and maybe like some other parts of your body as well, because like you know, if somebody loses an arm, like that can affect them as a person for a while. And I don't know if it affects their personality. That I don't know. But you know, if you lose like enough of your body, it probably would affect your personality, you know. But you know, but regardless, you know, you're more than just your brain, but you're mostly your brain. At any rate, whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about anyways. Band-Aids don't work. What? Band-Aids don't. Huh? Yes, they do. They work to help stop bleeding and to prevent further infection. So, what? Identifying the cause is key. Yeah. The cause of depression is depression. Well, it depends. Like, there's a lot of causes for it, and it's. Wait, no, she's saying more. Oh God, please stop. If there's a God, stop S.J. Thompson from saying more things on Twitter I have to disagree with. Maybe I should share the screen again. Wait, no, there's more things in chat. What do I do? Chat screen. I don't know. My guess is why people did worse is they didn't try to get better. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to look up that study. Today isn't the start. You're neck deep in editing. Oh, well, fine. Be that way. Okay, anyways. I haven't hit a magic number. Blah 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 blah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So people in chat are chatting, and nobody wants to join me. And it's probably been 5 minutes, but there was more. There was more insanity, so I lied. Well, I didn't lie. I just was mistake. I didn't know that I wasn't gonna. Oh no! I went away from it. No, go back. Go back. I wasn't done complaining about this. See, a lie is like I know that I was telling the. I didn't know that I was. That I had to talk about more because she said things that are okay. We're in the depression medication nation. Oh my God! What is wrong with you? And people are depressed, pumps themselves with medications rather than so you can feel the void. It's you're insane. You've lost the plot. There's no void. You're thinking like the wrong sort of depression. Like maybe that's the problem. Maybe you're so dumb about this particular topic, and also you don't have an argument because being dumb is irrelevant. I'm just saying that when it comes to this particular topic of mental health, you don't know what you're talking about. You could have had an argument. that was valid and sound. You don't, but you not knowing anything about it didn't mean that you didn't, and you being dumb didn't mean anything. So, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to ad hom you or introduce irrelevancies to this debate, which isn't even a debate because you don't have an argument, but I'm just pointing out those things. Okay, what was I saying? Oh, right. So there's no void here. When you think depression, maybe, let's try to be nice. Maybe you're thinking, like, I'm sad. Like, because my life doesn't have purpose or friends or something like that. Whatever. Okay, that's not depression with a big D. That's like you're depressed, but that's not depression. And we might want like a new word or something. I don't know. But it's a different thing. Like depression as a mental illness is a different thing than just feeling sad. And recognizing the difference is difficult and, might require some, knowledge of mental health, which would then be a psychologist, not an apologist, or whatever the heck it is you do for a living, or business stuff, whatever the bleep that is. So yeah, you're not qualified to diagnose what's going on. And so, yeah, but filling the void, like I don't have a void myself. I can only talk about myself in regards to my own depression. Like, well, I might have voids perhaps, but filling those voids I would still be depressed. Like that wouldn't change it. Okay. What does change it for me is taking medication that you seem to be like kind of against. So, these medications are known to trigger the things in my brain that are not firing on their own. They're like, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And like in people's brains that don't have this, like their brains are firing on their own. Like they don't need reminders to do that. I'm probably describing it the wrong way because I don't know how this works exactly, but I know that when I take them, I'm not depressed. I'm like as depressed at any rate. Like I'm baseline. Like it's still like the world sucks, but like I can deal with the world sucks at some level. So yeah. And if you guys want to know, sure, why not? I don't care. Serotonin and buspirone are the things I take. So one's for depression, which is serotonin. The other is anxiety, which is the buspirone. And, that doesn't mean it will work for you because, everybody has different brain chemistry. It's just that's what happened to work for me. So I got lucky in that. And I'm like, once I found the thing that worked, which was for really lucky the first time, because sometimes you have to self-monitor and be like, is this medication working after like the first week of taking it? And like, if you don't feel any different, you have to tell the doctor that, and then they have to try a different medication. And it's for some people, they just are constantly trying different medications, and it's really rough for them. And that because, we don't necessarily have a precise method of figuring out what brain chemistry you have yet. But I think psychology needs to blend into neuroscience, and the two need to work together to figure out this stuff. Like, I don't understand why they don't scan my brain before starting treatment, because let's get rid of the possibility that there's a physical stuff going on. And the doctor said to me when I said that, he said, well, you don't have any signs of something being wrong in your head. So if we did a brain scan, like there's things that the brain scan itself could do that are side effects that we could then get in trouble for. So unless you're dizzy and throwing up or whatever, we can't really do a brain scan. But I think that should be changed for mental health. Like, why not scan the hardware? And yeah, you might get some side effect from the dye or whatever they use, or the scan itself, maybe, but we could lessen that hypothetically. And then let's just make sure that the hardware is fine, and then go to the software treatment. But that's just my thing that I'm putting out there into the void of the internet that nobody will be able to do anything about, because none of us No, what the bleep? How to fix the system? Anyways, what else? Okay. So yeah, sounds like a Scientologist. Well, yeah, Scientology is like anti psychology. It's a big thing. She just got out of the hospital. Okay, so why was she in the hospital? Oh, maybe because she had a problem that needed to be addressed. They didn't cure her problem. How do you know that? Which is physical, not physical, but psychological. Right. Well, maybe they referred her to a psychologist. I don't know. But they wouldn't at an ER, they wouldn't be able to necessarily give you psychological medication unless they had a psychologist or psychiatrist on. I forget which one does the doctor stuff on hand. But if you're there because you attempted suicide or something like that, then they would just, call someone up that could prescribe that medicine and stuff like that. But they would treat the thing that you had tried to do. So that might mean pumping your stomach. It might mean patching up the places that you cut, etc. And if you are feeling that far gone that you're thinking about suicide, there's 1-800 number for National Suicide Prevention. They're pretty good with helping you talk you down. And there's other numbers that you can call, but if ultimately call 911 on yourself if you're that bad off to where you're thinking that shuffling off the mortal coil might be a good idea, because it's not. Whatever it is you're going through, however difficult that is, you can overcome that. It can be overcome. And there's people out there willing and able to help you to overcome that. And we need your mind, because your mind can produce ideas that none of us have. And that's a value that you can add to our society. And maybe you'll never see that. Like, you're like, well, what good does writing this poem do, or drawing this drawing, or whatever? Like, you might not feel like what you do will ever have an impact, but you have no idea, because the one thing that affects that one person and changes their life for the better, you might never see that result. And they may never be able to find you to thank you for that. But you absolutely have some impact to some degree on this world. And you have no idea how long your legacy will outlive you. My perspective is I would rather my arguments be out there and they survive, because I value the logic. I value the argument more than my own, if anyone remembers my name. Which they might not, okay, that's fine, whatever. But ultimately, we have no control over that. But our mind and our existence is valuable, because we can produce things that no one else can, because every mind is slightly different. So those are things that are valuable in some way, shape, or form. Even if you don't know what that value is yourself, somebody else hopefully will recognize it. So stick around. Okay. Why did Judas not pray for forgiveness instead of killing himself in a mood repression? Judas gave himself over to evil. Oh, so now it's evil to kill yourself. Wow. I mean, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone to do that. But evil? Fucking hell. What? And of course, I mean, we're assuming that the Judas story is true. Actually, why would Judas be upset? He helped God fulfill God's plan. Judas should be the happiest person on earth. If it wasn't for Judas, you wouldn't have your salvation. Judas should be celebrated as like the best person ever. And he shouldn't have felt bad. He should have felt good. And Jesus shouldn't say that there's somebody going to betray me. He should have said there's somebody that's going to help God fulfill his plan, and you're going to view it as a betrayal. But I tell you what, it's the best thing ever, or something like that. But that would be if the Bible made sense. What not even, yeah. Just pray. Yeah. Oh, this is getting bad. I like it. I'm glad people are calling this out. Dear Christians reading this tweet, if prayer and worship help you, keep doing that, but don't ever let it stop you from getting actual professional help for a diagnosable illness that can result in serious, dangerous consequences. Your depression is not spiritual. Amen to that. Can I get an amen? Let's check on chat. Uh, getting stuff ready. Nobody wants to join in for reasons. That's fine. That's okay. She says her friend doesn't have money for treatment. Go send a GoFundMe. Yeah, I agree. I might want some proof that the person actually has an illness before I would donate to a GoFundMe, because I'm a jaded skeptic and need proof. But yeah, I'd donate. But yeah, I wouldn't want them to pray for it. I want them to get help, but I would help a little bit. I'm sure many atheists would as well. I'd also love to see what would happen. Let's have a contest between the atheists and the Christians and see who donates more to the cause of this person getting mental help. I bet that the atheists would win. But whatever. Anyways. Do lobsters fill the void? Of course. The lobsters always fill the void. Depression, clinical depression is like depression, but it's not. Yeah, it's not. We should really call when somebody's sad just being sad rather than being depressed, because it's a completely different thing. So let's see. With SJ, everything goes by. Hi, came in to say hi. Hi. That's it. Did you want to like go live and say hi? You can get in here. Like anyone can get in. I don't care anymore. What's up, Deacon Man? This complaining about Just Say Thompson is what's up. This is the new thing that I'm doing now. I don't know why. I'm up late at night, and then I find a thing on Twitter that SJ said that I have to complain about, and that's what you're watching now. So what were we doing? Okay, yeah. So yeah, okay. Thanks for the prayer. Would you like us to treat your prayer with the free will package or the no free will package? And the first got a surprise and never saw it coming. And the second was this plan all along. You didn't have to even bother playing. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, that's another sort of thing. So the free will argument within theology and apologetics crumbles to pieces if you think that intercessor, the prayer that does stuff that I can't, the word, somebody say the word for me. Intercessory, how do you say it? I don't know. You know what I'm talking. Hopefully everyone knows what the bleep I'm trying to say, because I can't say it. I want the kids' prayer because the Bible tells me so. Huh? What? I don't know. Okay. But yeah, so if you believe that prayer can actually manipulate the world, then you would, okay, free will, does it exist? Well, you'd have to say, yeah, sure. But also like God has a plan. And so your prayer, although God was going to answer it anyways, you still need to do that because reasons. Like when I was a Christian, I've heard multiple explanations, but one that comes to mind as being a little bit more logical than what we're seeing here is that you pray for your own benefit, that God doesn't need you to pray because it already knows all the things, right? So the prayer is not to get something that you want, it's to enrich yourself. And in that sense, prayer is equivalent to meditation. Now, meditation actually has real benefits that have been shown to actually do stuff. So you don't need the prayer part on top of that, but there's no harm with adding that on top, as long as you recognize that it's not going to do anything other than make you slightly less stressed because you're meditating, and that's it. And so, but the Christian point was that I had heard that, like I said, makes more logical sense than this does, is that because God already knows everything. It or he has a plan for everything. So you don't, it's not like you need to pray for your friend, or you need to pray for this or that, or bless the meal or whatever, because all of that is already done. It's just that you are doing it for your own worship, your own benefit. That it's for you, not for God. Like, God doesn't need you to praise God. You need it because it makes you feel better, or something like that. And it can, praise can make you feel better. Probably because you're singing a song that you like, and singing can make you feel better. Prayer can make you feel better, probably because you're meditating, and that makes you feel better. But if you want to believe that that's something to do with God, okay, sure. But the better argument to make is that these things don't actually change the world around you, and that God doesn't need your prayers or worship, but that these things are for you, to help you in some way, but not in the same way that medication would, because God gave you a brain to use, and wants you to use that brain to go see a doctor who also has a brain that learn things about your body that for whatever reason God didn't, have in plan for you or whatever, and that you going to the doctor was always part of God's plan. So the whole free will thing is kind of like not really relevant in that view. It's like, well, maybe you can choose things or not, but ultimately it doesn't really matter if you can or can't, because whatever happens, that's what was supposed to happen anyways. But, so it's slightly better. But anyways, okay, back to this. Hey, look, this guy said everything I just said in a simple sentence. Prayer is just recognizing God's authority. It's not asking for wishes to be granted. That's basically what I was saying, is that if you're treating God like a genie, even though there's a verse in the Bible that says that's what it's, Jesus says, anything you ask for in my name will be done. So it's there, but you're not supposed to treat it that way, even though it's there. So, yeah. Which is the right one? Well, they all are. It just depends on which verse you use and in what way. Some are more logically sound-ish than others. I say ish because it's not like you can really make the Bible be logical without. I guess you would have to take the whole thing apart. You'd have to build a new one from scratch to really make that happen. But as far as getting closer to being better than what people do, there's ways to do that. But anyways, no, stop. American Medical Association. There we go. Hey, wasn't that exactly what I've been saying this whole time? Like, everyone that is a Christian but suffers from depression aren't true Christians. I mean, that would have to be the case, since where's the thing that where is it because of that, because depression cures Christianity. So if you're not, like I said, you can't be a Christian if you're depressed. And then, so if your friend was a faithful Christian, then they couldn't be depressed. So they can only be, it doesn't turn it off and on again. Let's see. Yeah, it's treatable. It's not curable yet. Hopefully one day we'll figure out how to cure it. That'd be awesome. Why doesn't God do that? Free will is not an answer, by the way, but just because what about my free will affects the fact that I have different mental problems? Nothing. I have no control over that. So the free will argument doesn't work. So the sin argument then gets substituted in. Well, the reason that you have depression or whatever is because all of humans have sinned at some point, and or have inherited the sin from Adam. So, that's the way it is. Now, see, you get into problems with that. Am I done reading this? Oh my God, it's still going. Let's see. Lying for Jesus again. Can actually make it worse. I agree. I'm just seeing if FJ actually said anything more for me to complain about, or if it's all the theists as well as non-theists that are irritated at what she said. I don't know about that one, Chief. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. How absurd. Nicolas Cage. Perfect. Yeah, wow. Look at this. This is exploded. This is exploded. Look what you've done. Maybe this is what she wanted. Like, did she want us all to be irritated? Was this like deliberate? I mean, you know, maybe you know, that's illegal in UK now. The Article 13 can't do that. I don't. There's me adding in my thing to make this go. Wow. Okay. Oh, there's still more. It goes on forever. People are retweeting it, memeing it, face palming. Oh man, Christianity made me depressed. There you go. There you go. Oh my, we're just. Oh wait, what's this? Stupid. It just keeps going. Oh, there's more replies. Oh my word. What is this? What is this? Eric. Oh, okay, I thought this was a real for a moment. I thought that this was a real guy. I was like, oh my god. What's going on? Oh my word. Do people believe this? Yes, they do. They really do. And that's why there aren't any Christians with depression. Well, I think we finally got the end of that. I guess my video might actually get this tweet to have even more responses than it does. SJ, what is wrong with you at this point? Are you trying to get people to not be Christian? Like, are you a secret atheist trying to deconvert people? Like, please just admit it already, because if that's what it's going, or are you just like, you know, I don't know, but you need to stop, please. Let's go to chat. What's going on? Praying is talking to yourself. Yes. I made a comment on what is this? Successful attention whoring? I guess. I mean, I don't know. Oh, let's turn off the thing. We don't need that now. We're done with that again for now. Okay, everybody. Wow, this was, I got 10 people to agree with me that this is insane. So I don't know what that means. So that's, well, 10 people that came in here. I don't know if they agree with me or not, by the way. I don't know. And so the question at hand is, does the statement that Christianity cures depression, is that true at any level? And my answer is no. On a theological level, this is not supported anywhere in the Bible. Period. It's not in there. Secondly, this is bad on a medical level. It's bad on a philosophical level, on a logical level. I think that this is wrong and bad on this is a fractal error. And what I mean by fractal error is this is a notion found in mathematics. I think it should be a logical fallacy, but it's not technically said that it is by anybody but me. But maybe it will be one day. I don't know. But anyway, so a fractal error is an error that's wrong in every single conceivable way that it could be wrong. So, you know, the fractal patterns where you just see them go into infinity. So it's that, but it's an error. And I also call it outright lie, because a lie, when you say the word lie, you mean usually somebody is deceiving you on purpose. They know what they're saying is not true. So it's not a lie if they didn't know what they were saying is untrue. But it's an outright lie if what they are saying is untrue in every possible circumstance, but their knowledge of it being true or untrue is not relevant anymore. And so I thought, well, the outright lie, that part wasn't as clear as fractal error. So I've debated myself on which we should call this, if it was to be adopted as a actual informal fallacy. But then outright lies appeared in my videos as a phone that will call me, and he'll talk to me, and the phone will ring when I say outright lie. Ring phone. And it's not doing it now because he's... Oh, there it is. That was a really bad ring. Hello? Hey, how's it going? Yeah, and then he'll yell at me and he'll ask how is it going, and then I hang up on him. So that's the bit that I've done in some of my videos, and now I explained it to you because you might not have seen those videos. So you now have to go and find a video where outright lie shows up, and then you'll know that that was a thing I did, even though I told you. And I could link you to one of those videos, but I don't know which one I did it in. So I'm leaving it up to you. Plus, that way you'll have to watch more of my content. Yay! Okay. Is this happened today? I don't know if it happened today. I just noticed it today. So I don't know when it happened. Yeah, Jesus never claimed to be God. Yeah, the closest you get to Jesus saying anything like that is actually something that you could even argue was inserted later, because Jesus says, like, I am, and this is like, oh, there it is. That's when he's saying he's God, because God called himself I am. And it's like, that's like, no, like, that's really a weak way of doing that. But, so it's more likely that if there had been a person Jesus, which I don't think there was, but if there had been, that people might have thought they were God, and they didn't want to say that they were God because they didn't want to be stoned to death. So they might have like played word games with people, and even just saying I am, as like a subtle hint that, that's like, kind of like, yeah, maybe I'm God, but you're not really saying you're God. Hey, Wild Heart. Hey, all. Yeah, it's a very weak argument, but I think that Richard Carrier is more right about what Jesus started as. I mean, but it's unclear to me about all that stuff. But it doesn't matter. Ultimately, the reason why I would say I'm a Jesus mythicist is because you don't need a Jesus to start the religion. Just like Joseph Smith didn't need actual golden tablets to start the religion. He just needed a story. And he needed a couple people to agree with that story. And he had his wife, and then he had a friend, and then he found Oliver Cowdery, and that was enough to get it started. With just those few people saying that it was true. And then once people joined in and decided that it was true and thought it was true, for whatever reason they did that, then you get a ball rolling. And once that ball's going, it doesn't stop. There's a movie. Oh, what is it called? Let me find this movie. To be, oh goodness, what was it? Guru? I think that's it. Yes. Here it is. Here's this. So this movie name is impronounceable by me, but I shall try. Chumari. So it's 2011. I put the IMDb in the link in the description, in the chat, but also I'll edit it into the description. Why not? If you haven't seen this movie yet, or this documentary, I should say, you should see it. And if you have seen it, it's worth watching again. I'll just kind of a little bit of summary of it. This guy pretends to be a guru, and he has people follow him. So it's not hard to get a religion going or a cult going. And one of the jokes about how do we know what the difference between a cult and a religion is, I've heard many times, is a cult is where the leader is still alive, and the religion is when the leader dies and it keeps going anyways. So that's the only difference between a cult and a religion. There might be other identifiers to a cult. I have this fantastic book that I've been wanting to talk about on my channel. I know the author of the book, and the book is called Christianity is Mind Control, and you might be able to find it I don't know if it's available for sale yet or whatever. But at any rate, he demonstrably demonstrates in the book that Christianity follows the same patterns that mind control cults do. And so, yeah, Christianity is a cult. All religions could be seen as a cult in a way. It's just the level that they're at depends. And even the word religion is like, well, what does that mean? Binding yourself to an idea. So that's a dangerous thing. Now, any of us can do that because it doesn't have to be about God or ghosts or anything like that. It could be any idea that we have, that we hold to that idea and are very fond of that idea. And so I've said many times, we should all be willing to challenge what we hold most dear. And that might be anything. For me, is logic and skepticism. So it's like, well, can you be skeptical about skepticism? Yes, you can. You run that experiment and it's over very quickly. But you run it and you go, yeah, well, okay, well, I doubted the idea that it was a good idea to doubt. And I saw that, yes, it's good generally to doubt, but there's things that you can't doubt or you shouldn't doubt because doing so leads to absurdities. So you don't want absurdities, hypothetically. So, you don't do those things, like reality is real. It's not really reason to doubt that per se. You could do that experiment in your head, the whole Matrix brain in a vat thing. But you run into the end where you're like, well, there's no reason to think I am in that. So therefore, I don't think that until I have the evidence, until the light falls down, like in the Truman Show. I don't have any reason to think that reality isn't what I think it is. And so far, reality is obeying the rules that seem to be in place. So it's really rather irrelevant, So even if we were in a simulation, the simulation still has rules that we all have to live by, So it doesn't really matter in the end. So, but you run that experiment and it's over with pretty quickly. And then you go, okay, what about logic? And you run experiments on logic, make sure the formulas still work, and they all seem to work. And you're like, okay, well, it still works. So then you're done with your skepticism on those things. And then you go, okay, well, what else you got? What else is there for me to be skeptical of or to question that I might think is true in my head, but might not actually be true? And, you could take a Picard speech, the first duty is to the truth, whether it's personal truth, historical truth, or scientific truth, that's, and that should be our guiding principles to figure that out. Now, we might not get there, but it's a good goal to try to aim at. Cults, what big religions call smaller ones. No idea should ever be beyond questioning. Have to sleep. Good night. Yeah, good night, everybody. Yeah, but at any rate, so we don't need a person to start. We don't need a single individual called Jesus to start Christianity. We only needed somebody to make up a story about Jesus to start Christianity. That's all you would need. So you could think that maybe that was Paul. Maybe Paul invented it. For all, I don't think that is the case, by the way. But that's all it would take, is somebody to say, "Oh yeah, I just have you heard about this guy Jesus that did all this stuff?" And they're like, "No." And you just have one other person with you that says, "Oh yeah, no, that's true." Which is, by the way, the whole Mormon thing where they do two people. There's actually good psychology for that because it's more convincing with two people than it is with one. And also they're in a uniform, so they seem more authoritative. And you're more likely to accept information because they're in a uniform. So there's been tests on that done too that show people that are more willing to accept what somebody, if you're told somebody is a scientist before, the zap experiment that they've done with people, for example, like, are you willing to zap somebody else or whatever? Jesus had a bad weekend for your son. Well, you see, the thing is with the death atonement narrative was based on Judaism. In Judaism, you had to give a death sacrifice to atone for your sins. And so it's very easy to hypothesize that Christianity in its earliest version was a response to that. And maybe somebody that was kind of poor or was tired of killing their livestock to get sins forgiven was like, I'm really disenfranchised with this thing. What if somebody perfect came along and they were the sacrifice to end all sacrifices? Maybe that happened. And so they started by saying that it did happen. Now, that's the lie, but they might have convinced themselves that it was true. That could be the case as well. Like sometimes the psychic thinks that they really have these powers, and sometimes they know that they're a fraud. It's hard to know. So, and this far away from that person and date, there's no way for us to know how it started. But either way, it's still a story, and we know it's a story. It might, there's things you can use that are useful, but we don't need the God part to be good, because good is good on its own. We can just say that it is good to do good. Although that's redundant, it's a tautology, but it's still true. Maybe you don't feel like doing good today, but you do it because it's the right thing to do. And maybe it makes you miserable, but it's still good to do good in the end. And ideally, if it is truly good, it will hypothetically produce a good result. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't truly good, maybe, or something went wrong somewhere and we need to rethink it, God died for 3 days and respawned. Yeah. Blood magic works. God's limit. Yeah, well, the Jewish idea of blood sacrifice and all that was atonement for sins, and they had all these rules that they had to follow, and those rules were like really hard because the death penalty was in place for every single rule, not just death, but death by stoning. Oh, you got raped by somebody, and you're a woman. Well, to the edge of town, let's stone her to death. Oh, wait. Oh, you'll marry them? Oh, then it's okay. Never mind. We don't have to kill you now. So they had a pretty barbaric system. And their thing was somewhat based on Zoroastrianism. You see hints of that in Judaism. Zoroastrianism actually is a better theology, I would say. But you have more ambiguousness. In Zoroastrianism, if you're good as a person, then you'll go to the good place. And if you're bad, then you'll go to the bad place. Now, how much good or bad do you get to do to tip the scale one way or the other is completely ambiguous. So whoever founded Judaism added rules and also adopted Jehovah, Yahweh, as the God. And Yahweh had Esther, I think, the wife of Yahweh. And so there was all these other gods around at the same time. And it's the one that they happened to adopt was the war god. Because they wanted to go to war. So they needed a war god. So they made that god their god. And you can see, even in today, when you read through the Bible, you see God evolve from a war god who's in the sky because they go to the mountain to meet him, to a God that's just in the air, because now you see God as a fire and smoke, and that's air. So it's transitioned. And then eventually you don't see signs of God anymore. God just talks to people. And then you don't even see that. You see God sends angels to people. And the word angel is messenger. So God gets further away because people could climb to the top of a mountain. People could look at the sky. So God gets more and more invisible as the story goes on. And as well, you have to start after Genesis, because Genesis is really plagiarized stories from other religions. But still, you can see God evolve even in the Bible. And God starts out by saying, other gods, that there are other gods. You will make me greater than the other gods. So, and then the God in Genesis is not that God, by the way. It's a different God that's happening in Genesis. That God's not Jehovah. It's not Yahweh. Not yet. That comes in way later that Judaism says, oh, it's the same God, which is way later in its development that happened. But it's all in there. You just have to extract it and actually care about what it says. Joseph or who did the grave? That whole thing of the rich man giving the grave to Jesus and all that. Again, that's probably added in later. You know, yeah, Zoroastrianism having a second coming or something. I don't know offhand about that for sure. I just know that that Zoroastrianism was before and during Judaism. And actually, there are forms of Zoroastrianism still around today. So go figure. But the rules that get tacked on, and then the sacrifice stuff, because there was other religions that sacrifice people that have been around. They don't last too long. That's the interesting thing about those religions is any religion that's human sacrifice tends to die out pretty quickly. And I think that there's probably an evolutionary advantage to them dying out in that, which sounds weird, that they can't survive as a society because it always requires somebody to be killed, and people don't like to be killed, so that society won't survive. So the society dies out because the culture was based on the sacrifice of that human, and that's not a sustainable system. So it dies out, and that's how evolution of culture works. The things that don't work die out. So we ought to be awfully careful with all the changes that we're trying to do with our culture, that we don't trigger a culture that dies off. Okay. Yeah, the Sasio, whatever that word is. Yeah, I'd have to look again at that because it's been too long. Because when I was a Christian, I don't know how many of you know my deconversion story or whatever, but I actually wanted to prove that Christianity was true. So I looked at the history of the Bible, and to do that, I looked at the archaeology first. That was my first go-to. Was that to prove these places even existed. And what I found was that there was a lot of forgeries going on. There's a lot of people making money, and this is a problem in archaeology in and of itself, but even more so for Christianity. And that these groups of Christians would go out and they would go to sites that had already been explored by other archaeology groups that weren't Christian funded. And these Christians would then suddenly magically find the thing that would identify the well as the right well for their place. And then they wouldn't let anyone see the coins or anything like this. And it's just like, you don't make up stories when you have the truth. And then, of course, Josephus having the big forgery and all this. And so I just kept finding example after example of there not being any evidence for anything, and there being evidence against it and being fraud. And I was like, well, this is bad. And, and then the exploration into religions of the time and before the time. And the fact that no historian said anything before, during, or after the time of Jesus. Nobody said anything about Jesus. It's completely silent. There's a good article, I think, on some skeptic site called The Silence That Screams. Anyways. Yeah, but I don't know what I'm going on, but yeah, the history, studying the history and actually caring that because I went in saying we have the evidence, it's just those pesky atheists, they don't know about it, and for whatever stupid reason, nobody has given it to them. So I'll give it to them. Nobody else wants to, I will do it. Well, I looked for it and it wasn't there. So maybe I missed something, but I doubt it. I looked at it and I wanted it. I wanted to find it, but it wasn't there. And, you know, I discovered Noah's Ark at least 5 times. And I don't know how many days I wasted on the Shroud of Turan or whatever before I gave up on that as a complete waste of time. But then after that, then I thought, well, what can save me? And I found this thing called apologetics. And for a while, it seemed that would save my faith, because I thought, oh, these arguments, I don't need maybe, you know, I said something like this to myself. Maybe God hid all the evidence so that we had to have faith, because faith is encouraged in the Bible. So if we have evidence, we don't need faith. So maybe we just need these philosophical arguments, and that's all we need. But then I also learned logic, and that destroyed the apologetics. So I had no history and no argument. So what did I have? That was it. I had faith. I had pure faith at that point, which was just like relying on God to respond to this one prayer that, as a Christian, when I'd prayed that prayer other times, it seemed that God had responded to it. But there was actually a physical thing going on that was nothing to do with God, and everything to do with my own brain and body working together to produce a sensation. But it can only do that when I'm relaxed. And when I was praying at the time, I was crying. I was crying tears of salt in a fetus position in the corner. And God didn't answer the prayer for that feeling, whereas it had all these other times. Well, all the other times I'd asked for that feeling, I'd been relaxed on my back, and I was able to, and unbeknownst to me, my subconscious, when I wanted that feeling, would produce that feeling. I know it's that now because I can do it anytime I want now, which is great. So it's like, oh, I want to feel that feeling. Oh, okay, there it is. That's nice. And I can now do it consciously now that I know that it's not God doing it. But at the time, I couldn't figure out if there was a God, and if God's always the same. In my hour of need, why isn't God answering this prayer? God must hate me, or not care, or not have the power to answer me. So what is there left? There's nothing left at that point. And so, you know, when I, a year some odd later, when I started doing YouTube, you know, I came up with the empirical evidence repeatable test, or valid and sound argument, which I think I said as logically coherent argument for quite some time before I realized that valid and sound was a better way to say that. But at any rate, so I continually apply those three criteria to all things that come my way. If you have empirical evidence, then I can see it. If you have a test, then we can run it. And if you have a valid and sound argument, then there's something to explore. And if you don't have any of those, then what the hell do you have? I don't know. I haven't been given a fourth option yet. If you want to hear that in conversation with Matt Slick, it's somewhere on my channel that he says, you know, I said, well, fine, I'll set all three aside. Now what? What system do I have? What do I do? He said, become a Christian. I was like, so his answer to what system to use when you had no system was just assume that Christianity was true, I guess, you know. And that's at the end of the day, that's the only real argument that there is to make for any religion, I think, is just believe it's true. Just think it's true. Just believe it. That's it. Just do it. Just because. That's it. And it can also become true of political ideas or ideologies, philosophies of ways to look at things. We can grab hold of things and believe in them so hard that when people question them, we have cognitive dissonance, and we start to make really bad arguments. And if you catch yourself doing that, it's time to re-examine your beliefs, whatever they might be, because we all can do that. So this was a weird way to end this. A true God should be evident for everyone. I agree. There's no reason for God to hide. Yeah. I think that, you know, believing in God is understandable because we're pattern seeking creatures. So I don't really care that much if somebody believes in God per se. What bothers me is when they do bad science or bad logic to support that God belief. And bad science went on here with S.J. Thomason saying that depression's cured by Christianity. That's not just bad science; it's bad everything, including theology, which pisses me off as a former Christian, which might not matter to the skeptics of my audience that are here with me now, or with me later on that listen to this, or atheists that listen to this, or whoever might listen to this later on. I don't know. Hopefully, some Christians as well. And, you know, there's that guy where me and Johnny and I are going to probably be talking about that rather popular YouTuber that's been anti-theist. There's a nuance to how we can go about lessening the belief in gods or making them more reasonable. My brother, I think, is a reasonable theist because he does believe in God, but his way of believing it is so darn honest that you can't really fault him for it. And also, with my brother, unlike a lot of the theists you might encounter online, he's willing to say it's just faith. And I think that it's worth exploring the idea, and this would have to be done in neuroscience and or psychology, that because brains are different, I think it's possible that some of our brains are wired to have to believe in a god, and some of our brains would then therefore be wired to be unable to believe in a god. And then, of course, you'd have those that are flexible between those two, you know. But I don't know that that's a true idea. It's just something that I think could be true. And that would be a possible explanation for why some people can't stop believing, maybe. Yeah. Hey, Theophobe, you were commenting. Well, I don't know if you commented on this particular. Theophobe had a good video lately. I don't know much about the political thing that's going on. Like, I don't know enough about it to, even if I knew like all the things, I don't know that I could really, I just go with the system. It's innocent until proven guilty. If the guy is guilty, then hopefully they'll figure it out. And if he's not, then that should be the end of it. But the problem might be that the public opinion is influencing things too much, and the media is playing on that, and that could influence the ability of people to be objective when it comes to these things. The video I did on sort of tangentially related to this lately that's up, that's not this hangout, is I stand with logic is my hashtag. I stand with logic. And there I explore the person that is experiencing pain because they're seeing that person is going through a thing that they've had happen to them, and so they're conflating their past pain with what's going on today. And so of course that's going to make them not be objective. And hopefully people understand where I'm coming from on that video and don't take it the wrong way. But who knows? Maybe I'll set myself on fire again. Whatever. Yeah, I know you're about facts. So yeah, I mean, good stuff. So hey everyone, thanks for being with me this long and checking this out and doing all the things. And if you didn't get a chance to say something in chat at me, put it in the comments and I'll respond to it. I love all the feedback I get always. And if you want to talk about stuff live or not live or whatever, we can do that. And lobsters exist. Yeah. I'm wrapping up here because I gotta I don't know what I gotta do. I gotta do something other than this. I mean, I don't have to, but so yeah, if we don't have empirical evidence, repeatable, logically coherent argument, be skeptical of the conclusions. That's all I got. Thanks, everyone. Finn, yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, you got my email and all that. Oh, a potential meetup in real life? Ooh, that would be interesting. Lobsters are a myth. What? How dare you? I'll kill you. No, you can't eat them. How dare you? You haven't read the book, have you? How dare you not read my book? I mean, the book that I didn't write that's totally true. The Lobsterist book. How many times do I have to share that before somebody reviews it? Somebody will review it one day. One day it will happen. And then I don't know what I'll do. Goodbye, Finn. Let's do that and let's hit the button.